What if I told you the San Antonio Spurs, yes, the same team that missed the playoffs for 6 straight seasons, might secretly be the most dangerous sleeper in the entire Western Conference? Sounds crazy, right? But the numbers, the roster moves, and one freak of nature named Victor Wembanyama all point in the same direction. The Spurs aren't rebuilding anymore, they're coming. And this time, they've got the pieces to terrify the NBA. Let's start with where things stood just a year ago. On paper, the Spurs looked like another lottery-bound franchise. They finished 13th in the West, far from contention, and for most casual fans, that's all that mattered. But if you dig deeper, you realize that season was the turning point. San Antonio had been stuck in the mud, slogging through back-to-back 22-win seasons. Then suddenly, they jumped to 34 wins. That may not sound like much, but it marked their best season in 6 years. They weren't elite, but they weren't a pushover anymore either. The numbers confirm the progress. Their offensive rating landed at 113.5, good for 19th. Their defense, shaky but improving, sat at 116.3, ranking 25th. And their net rating was minus 2.8, still below average, but a clear leap forward compared to years past. And then came the biggest shock of all. Greg Popovich, the last link to the Spurs dynasty, stepped down after 29 seasons due to a medical emergency. For nearly 3 decades, Pop was the Spurs. Tim Duncan, Manu, Tony Parker, they were all products of his system. Losing him could have destroyed the franchise's identity, but that's not what happened. Instead of collapsing, San Antonio used that loss as fuel. They showed resilience. Even without Pop, without Wemby for stretches, and without newly acquired star De'Aaron Fox for most of the season, the Spurs still posted their most improved record in years. That resilience was proof. This wasn't just another rebuilding team waiting for ping-pong balls. Something was shifting in San Antonio. The foundation was in place. The next step was about unleashing it. Enter Victor Wembanyama, the alien, the unicorn, the 7'4" cheat code. 2 years into his NBA career, he's no longer a project. He's a problem. Before a freak blood clot ended his season, Wemby had already put up absurd numbers. 24.3 points, 11 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 1.1 steals, and 3.8 blocks per game. Those stats are unheard of for a 21-year-old big man. Only 20 players scored more points, just 7 grabbed more rebounds, and nobody, absolutely nobody, blocked shots at his level, and the team's record with him proved his impact. When Wemby played, the Spurs went 21-25. Without him, a dreadful 13-23. Defensively, he was already the clear favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. Offensively, he was evolving into a top 20 weapon. Put it together, and he wasn't just good. He was arguably already a top 5 player in basketball. ESPN even ranked him 5th heading into the 2025-26 season, right behind Jokic, Giannis, Luka, and SGA. That's lofty company, but you can see why. And here's the kicker. Wemby didn't spend his offseason resting. He spent it sharpening his sword. 10 days training in a Shaolin temple in China. Workouts with Kevin Garnett to inject aggression into his game. Footwork lessons from Hakeem Olajuwon, one of the most skilled post players of all time. He's not just growing, he's studying the masters, and that's why year 3 feels different. Historically, the 3rd year is when legends leap. Michael Jordan missed most of his 2nd season with a broken foot. In year 3, he came back, averaging 37 points per game, leading the league while playing all 82 games. LeBron James in year 3, 31 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, nearly 2 steals and a block, and his first real MVP campaign. Neither Jordan nor LeBron entered year 3 as the guy. They became it that year. Now Wemby sits in the same spot. If you think he's not ready, you might as well believe the earth is flat. Some things are just undeniable, but even great players need help. Jordan needed Pippen, LeBron needed Kyrie, then Wade and Bosh. For Wemby, that help has arrived in the form of De'Aaron Fox. The Spurs shocked everyone when they traded for Fox last season, then doubled down by signing him to a max extension this summer. Some wondered if they'd hesitate after drafting Dylan Harper at number 2 overall. Would they really invest that much in Fox with a young point guard waiting in the wings? Inside the organization, there was no hesitation. Even though Fox played just 17 games before surgery shut him down, the Spurs saw enough. In that stretch, he averaged nearly 20 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, and almost 2 steals per game. More importantly, he gave Wemby something he had never had, a dynamic, all-star caliber guard to run the pick and roll with. And if you think that's overrated, consider this. Back in the 2022-23 season, Fox averaged 8.4 pick-and-roll possessions per game, scoring efficiently on over a point per possession. With Sabonis as his partner, they built one of the best two-man games in the league. Now replace Sabonis with a 7'4" alien who can dunk from the free throw line. That's not a partnership. That's a nightmare for defenses. So far, the results haven't been unleashed. In their short time together last season, Fox and Wemby scored just 0.82 points per possession in the pick and roll, average at best. But that was before chemistry, before a full offseason, before Wemby's leap. This year, with both healthy, expect fireworks. Fox isn't just a speed demon who gets to the rim at will, he's one of the most clutch guards in the league. He's grown into a reliable three-point shooter, and defensively, his quick hands and instincts make him a menace on the perimeter. Pair that with Wemby erasing shots inside, and suddenly the Spurs have the makings of a terrifying defensive spine. The Spurs didn't just add a co-star, they added the perfect co-star. And it doesn't stop there. What makes this roster so dangerous isn't just Wemby and Fox, it's the depth behind them. Stephon Castle won Rookie of the Year, averaging nearly 15 points and 4 assists. Dylan Harper, the number 2 pick, is already flashing all-around playmaking ability. Carter Bryant, taken at number 14, brings even more scoring punch off the bench. Add in Jeremy Sochan, the do-everything forward who defends like his life depends on it, and Devin Vassell, a sharpshooter who looks far more comfortable as a third option than as a lead scorer, and you've got a balanced young rotation with multiple weapons. Keldon Johnson remains the X factor. He's inconsistent, but just 3 years ago, he shot 40% from deep on heavy volume. If he finds that stroke again, San Antonio suddenly solves its biggest weakness, spacing. This young core isn't just talented, it's versatile. They can run small, fast lineups around Wemby. They can stack size with Harper, Sochan, and Cornette to suffocate opponents. For the first time in years, the Spurs can adapt on the fly instead of just surviving. Of course, no contender relies solely on youth. The Spurs quietly added veterans to stabilize the roster. Luke Kornet came in on a bargain deal to provide legit rim protection and front court depth. Kelly Olynyk arrived to space the floor with shooting and give Wemby insurance minutes. And Harrison Barnes, steady as ever, adds playoff experience and reliable scoring. These aren't flashy moves, but they matter. Last season, the Spurs' backup center minutes were a disaster. Now, they can roll out Kornet and Wemby together for a Twin Towers look, or give Olynyk a green light to keep defenses honest. Championship teams aren't just stars, they're balance. The Spurs have finally built that balance. Still, let's be real. The Spurs aren't perfect. First, health. Wemby already lost part of last season to a blood clot. Fox went down after just 17 games. Depth helps, but you can't replace superstars. Second, consistency. Vassell and Johnson have both struggled with streaky play. Without steady shooting, defenses will load up on Wemby in the paint. Third, the competition. The West is brutal. Denver, OKC, Minnesota, Golden State, Phoenix, both LA teams. There are no easy nights. Even a leap forward might not guarantee a top 6 seed. But here's the difference. For the first time, San Antonio has answers to those doubts. Depth if injuries hit. Shooting potential if guys step up. A true star guard to balance Wemby. It doesn't erase the risks, but it gives them paths around them. So where does this all lead? For the first time in 7 years, the expectation isn't patience. It's playoffs. Not play-in. Playoffs. With Wemby cementing himself as a top 5 defender, Fox unlocking the pick and roll, Castle and Harper providing youthful firepower, and vets holding down the rotation, the Spurs should target a 6th to 8th seed in the West. Anything less would be a disappointment. And if everything clicks, if Wemby takes the leap in year 3 the way Jordan and LeBron did, then the ceiling goes from playoff team to contender faster than anyone expects. Here's the scary part. This might just be the beginning. Imagine Wemby stepping into the Tim Duncan role, a defense-first superstar who anchors everything, but with an offensive arsenal Duncan never had. Imagine Castle and Harper growing into Parker and Manu-level co-stars. Add Fox's prime years, and suddenly, the Spurs don't just have a playoff team, they have the foundation for a dynasty. The league thought it had time to figure Wemby out. They thought the Spurs would take years to build around him. But time's up. San Antonio isn't waiting anymore. The question isn't whether they'll be back in the playoffs. The real question is how far this team can climb, and how quickly. So, are the Spurs really ready to crash the playoff party in the West? Or are they still a year away from scaring the Giants? One thing's for sure, with Wemby leading the way, De'Aaron Fox at his side, and a loaded young core behind them, San Antonio has officially shifted from rebuilding to rising. And if you're not buying Spurs stock now, this might be your last chance before the breakout.